So we know that the Democrats in the Senate are caving, but that is not completely final. So there's still time for votes. There's still time for them to reverse their decision. So if you are in any of the states that these hateful 8 Senate Democrats that were willing to do this for nothing, you can tell them that they need to reverse their vote. We need to actually get something real out of this government shutdown that is clearly hurting the Republicans. People were not blaming the Democrats. People are pissed at the Democrats right now. I think them caving based on some of the, thoughts that, people are theorizing, obviously, and myself included, about why Senate Democrats would do this. So let me put a couple things out there, and then I'll tell you what I think. So one version of this is they were probably afraid of Republicans eventually getting rid of the filibuster. Now, for those of you that don't understand how the filibuster, what it's for, that's the requirement for there to be a 60 vote threshold, which means not very much gets done. But if you actually look at how this has been used, how the filibuster has been used, it's basically a barrier to getting anything progressive done, from 5 to 1. It is almost always things that are pro-corporate corporations, pro-wealthy people that get done in the Senate for every one thing that is remotely progressive. And usually the progressive things that get passed are greatly watered down from their original intent. It's basically, the way I think about it is, if they do anything progressive at all, it's basically just enough to prevent people from revolting completely. So there's that. I think they got scared because Trump was really putting a lot of pressure. Some argue that the Senate Democrats, we know that these people, we don't actually know how many at the time. They're saying it was less than the 8 threshold that was needed. They wanted to do this a couple weeks into the shutdown. I wish I could remember what was going on around that time. So they wanted to cave. Schumer said, let's wait for the premiums notifications. That news that people's premiums were going to go up. Let that get out there first. Some think maybe this was partially about getting some election wins, hopefully. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I don't think the corporate establishment Democrats necessarily even really want wins. I think what they mostly want is to, the purpose of the corporate establishment Democrats, who are largely bought by the billionaire class, they want to suppress the base. They want to suppress people's very thought that we can really hope for anything, any kind of real change. They're there to discipline the base. They are just as bad, if not worse. Well, they're just as bad. I mean, in some cases, maybe they are worse than the Republicans. Because, I think it is one thing to do terrible things. And, I don't expect anything different from Republicans. But to know the kinds of harm that the Republicans are going to cause and then to go along with it, I think that's just as bad, if not worse. Because you have the knowledge that they're going to do it. You have the position where you have an obligation to stand in opposition, and you just go along with it. There's a reason why people say, if you have, a dinner party where there's 12 Nazis and the 13th person comes into the room, that I guess when they were outside the door, they weren't necessarily a Nazi, but they come and sit down and have dinner with the Nazis, you have 13 Nazis. So I look at the corporate Democrats, the establishment Democrats, the same way. These people, the Republican Party is just a bunch of fascists. You get fascism when the system kind of collapses because of the amount of concentrated power and wealth that capitalism created. It's the natural end stage of capitalism. And the only way to sustain that is with an authoritarian government, or you kind of reset things and you redistribute the wealth. You kind of reform the system significantly. And like, there are different philosophies about what should be done with the government in this state. Some people want to like burn it all down, accelerationists, on one side of the aisle or the other. That's fascists. And I don't even necessarily think like anarchists are kind of like this, but they're like, I think they've been kind of misunderstood. I've misunderstood them for a bit. Anyway, I'll get into that stuff another time. What I want is there to be reforms in our system. I want there to be a greater distribution of wealth instead of the massive wealth inequality we have. I want a society that works for all of us, not just a few, because it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work when the system is imbalanced in any way. We have to be protective of how we balance things. So, what's my theory? I think I'm in agreement with the idea that they were protecting the filibuster, because partly what the filibuster does is it protects the corporate establishment Democrats. It allows them to appease progressives by saying, well, like, I voted on this thing, even though there was no possibility of it passing because of the situation at the time. Like, honestly, I kind of dismiss the people in the Democratic Party that quote unquote fight for good things when there's no chance of passing it, when they don't have enough votes. I think that's a hollow gesture. And I pay more attention to what they do when they do have the power to do it. And I don't really see them pushing for anything real. So then I know who is bought and owned by the billionaires, which is too many of them. So I think it does make sense that part of this was about the filibuster, because the filibuster allows them to kind of hide what their real intentions are, and it's just an excuse to not get anything done. It makes the donors happy. It keeps the base maybe in line for people that are not paying enough attention. And in some ways, I think this cave was to suppress the base, suppress the energy. Like, there was a massive amount of energy within the Democratic base where we came out in massive numbers, big wins all over the place, and Republicans basically got wiped out. And I think a lot of what I'm hearing from the corporatists people is they want it to be about the fact that, like, well, you know, Zoran Mamdani's win doesn't really mean anything, and like our corporate friendly centrists, Washington centrists, won, so whatever. Like, the moderates are still the adults in the room, even though the so-called adults in the room keep doing losing strategies. And like, really, like, I feel like a lot of the corporatists, the Washington centrist types, I don't think they won necessarily because the moderate positions are good. I think it's because Republicans are so obviously awful, and they're doing obviously unconstitutional, illegal things on a regular basis. It's kind of like when Biden won the first time in 2020, and again, he kind of squeaked that out because Trump bungled COVID. That was mostly it. Like, if you look at the polls, that was the main concern, main criticism. A lot of unnecessary deaths happened because of Trump. So I don't think that's necessarily because Biden ran a great campaign. I don't think he did, to be honest. Like, I'm perfectly fine with giving any politician credit when I think they did something good. You could probably look back at a few things that Trump did in his first term that were good. Everything else was terrible. And this time around, I can't find anything good. Biden did the CHIPS and Sciences Act. That probably could have been stronger. The original version of Build Back Better looked pretty good. It's still not as far as I would like it to go. You know, obviously it's politics. This is how it goes. Like, you get what you can get, and you always should be pushing for more. You should be pushing for progress for the American people. That's patriotism. He was better on unions than we've had in a very long time. But I also wasn't a huge fan of the like him just like ending the strikes for the, what was it, with shipping or railroads, I think. Again, like the problem I have with a lot of Democrats is they don't really hold the line for workers enough. We haven't done that in a long time. Republicans squash workers at every opportunity. They try to undermine unions. They try to cut your pay, cut your benefits. Like now they're pitching things like, Trump is pitching things like the 50-year mortgage, like which on average, if you're talking about like a $500,000 home, what used to be you would pay about $250,000 in interest on a 30-year loan. Now you'd be paying $1 million in interest, $1 million over the course of the loan. That's a giveaway to the banks. So when you look at Republican policy, you're usually looking at things that are going to benefit millionaires, billionaires, and mega corporations, and that's mostly it. And you have to look at the fine print for the other things. You know, a lot of times it's like backdoor deals for things that they actually have personal investments in, or their future job prospects, working as a lobbyist, or like, you know, somebody with a no-show board seat or whatever the hell. And not to say the Democrats don't do that too. Like there's a lot of corrupt Democrats. I want to get all the people that don't represent regular people. I want them out, and I want to completely reform how we fund political campaigns, because we can't have people spending most of their time talking to wealthy donors and not representing the people. Like they're there, they get elected, they should be spending 90+% working for us, but that's not what happens. They spend 60-70% of their time dialing for dollars, talking to rich donors, and they have to raise more and more money every single time, which means, like, since Citizens United, things have shifted heavily towards the rich, which is the problem that I'm talking about. I think ending the shutdown was about serving the interest of the big donors, and they put us all through a lot of pain. I say us all, like I'm okay. I have a pretty good job. I have my girlfriend. We have a 2-income household, me and my girlfriend. We're both so far not significantly impacted, other than like higher costs, higher grocery prices. But we're about to get crushed with the healthcare insurance stuff. I just got the notice that open enrollment starts, and I don't even want to look at it. Like, I know my premiums are going to go up somewhere between 2 to 5 times. I'm a veteran, so fortunately I get a lot of my stuff covered by the VA. So I might just drop it, because I can't afford to pay massive premiums out of my check. Like, Republicans screwed us, and instead of Democrats making them pay for it and making them do something different, they're not doing it. And they caved. Like, they were supposed to address the ACA premiums, the tax credits. They were supposed to address that, like extend it for, I don't know, 2 to 5 years or something. And they should have aimed to cut Trump's rescission power. But all they got was a pinky promise. And there was some other sneaky stuff that Republicans added into this thing that allows Republicans that were involved in the planning of Jan 6th to sue this DOJ, which is going to just roll, and pay them $500,000 if their phone records were subpoenaed during the Jan 6 investigations. Like, that's completely insane. So, I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think the purpose of the hateful 8 and the shy 9th, Chuck Schumer, who voted no, but he orchestrated this clearly. I mean, even like Sheen from, was it Maine or something? She said that leadership was involved, like they were aware the entire time. So he can't sit there and say that he wasn't part of planning this. Schumer has to resign. All of these corporate Senate Democrats, establishment Democrats, need to resign in disgrace. We should be encouraging them to step down, step out, go away. We need better leaders in the Democratic Party. We need to take over the Republican Party too. We need to take back our democracy, and we need to build it stronger. We need to make this country work better for all people, so we're not at risk of all of our rights and freedoms. Like, we're about to have like no say and no law that isn't just, you know, a farce. Like, they're kidnapping people. They're disappearing people. Why? I don't understand why people think they're safe. And then you got idiots that are going around saying, oh, illegals this and illegals that. Like, that's total bullshit. Human beings are not illegal. We have people that are undocumented here, people that have been, had their, like, that were following the legal process, nabbed and disappeared and sent to forced labor camps. They're making people slaves because greedy corporations, greedy wealthy people, oligarchs, don't want to pay for labor. That's it. That's what this is about. It's an ethnic cleansing because Stephen Miller is a neo-Nazi, was directing all this stuff. He's directing the cruelty. Even Trump said he wants more brutal crackdowns on people and to get their numbers up. And it's disgusting. Like, all this stuff is illegal. Like, none of it is necessary. You don't need to go brutalize people, and you have no right to detain anyone without a freaking judicial warrant. Like, you can't do that. People have their habeas corpus rights. If you're on American soil, American territories, you have a right to due process, and they're violating that. Like, the people that should be arrested are ICE, are the CBP people, DHS people, and the entire, command structure that has been ordering this stuff and allowing it to happen. It's nonsense. The criminals are the federal officials that are doing this stuff. And if you don't believe that, you don't believe in a rule of law, period. You're just a racist, and you're un-American. You're not patriotic. You're a piece of shit. You don't stand for anything. If you support this stuff, you're a traitor to your country. That's just it, period. You don't believe in anything. You don't believe in our Constitution. You don't believe in America. You're just a Nazi. You're a neo-Nazi. It's just Nazism, but whatever this new form of it is. So anyway, I believe in human rights. I believe in international law and just U.S. laws. Like, I keep saying just U.S. laws because a lot of our laws have been unjust. They've targeted black and brown people, and then now women are under attack. Like, now Republicans want to say, to extend the ACA subsidies, we have to restrict abortion even more, which making abortion illegal doesn't reduce abortions. It just reduces safe abortions, and more women will die. You will have more unwanted children, and then you have a foster system. Like, it just results in more child deaths, more sad stories, more burdens on women and society. And Republicans don't care. They are not pro-life. They're a fascist death cult. What are we kidding? It's cruelty for cruelty's sake. This party is fascist. And if you don't believe me, you have a problem with your understanding of actual realities. This is not a debate. That is a fact. Look up Umberto Eco's 14 criteria. Just look it up. DuckDuckGo it. Anyway, I gotta go. Bye.